You're listening to the Welcome to the Rebellion podcast. Hey, Jay, are you ready? Because it's time to start the show.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Welcome to the Rebellion podcast. I have a fantastic guest, a friend. We've been friends for a few years now, and you're going to absolutely love what he has to say. We're going to go over movies. We're going to go over a little politics and some of the stories that he loves to share. I love to listen, and we're going to get right into it. Thank you so many of you guys being in the chat, and I'm going to teach him a little bit about YouTube because he is now a YouTuber. My goodness. Would you welcome my good friend, Matthew Marsden? How are you? Wait. Oh, there we go. Look, here I said I was going to teach you about YouTube, and I totally messed up.
And you're like, thumbs. How you doing, Jay?
My friend, how are you? We were talking right before the show. It is good to see you. And I'm all for actors becoming YouTubers, man. I'm all for it. You know, wait a minute. Wait, hold on a second. Before I start that, let's be honest. According to Twitter, you have a terrible career. You never really acted in anything.
No, I'm a Z-list actor. What have I ever done? Who are you?
Z-list.
Whatever.
Yeah, just if you guys are unaware, Matthew Marsden has been in shows such as Law and Order, NCIS. I got that. He was in Reacher, Transformers, Black Hawk Down, which is not my personal favorite, but it was a good one. Resident Evil. I'm saving my favorite till the end. But I Am That Man, which we're going to talk about. You were actually in a movie with Snoop Dogg. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did a little thing with Snoop Dogg that was funny. Which my kids were like, it's so funny, all the stuff that I've done. And my kids are like, you in a movie with Snoop Dogg? I was like, yeah.
That's how it is. You were in one of the Anaconda films.
I was. Anacondas.
Yeah, Anacondas. But my favorite was Rambo. And I've told you this a million times. You were Schoolboy, the sniper in Rambo.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my brother saw that film in the theaters, and we went back and saw it again 2 days later. I just love that. It's just a meat factory, man. It's just body parts, everybody flying. You had a couple good shots in there yourself, blowing people's heads off and everything. So,
killed the second most amount of people in that movie. I think in all the Rambo movies, actually, because Slow's like, I got you to kill a lot of people. So I was like, okay, all right, I'll take it.
But now here you are on YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed, the channel for Matthew, the channel that he is on, the channel that he uses is in the description. It is also in the pinned comment in the chat. So do him a favor, subscribe over there to hear a lot of stories, hear a lot of commentary. And you never know what he might say or who he might bring on. So
you never know.
Look at this. Biggles message. Poor Matthew has to deal with Jay. My condolences. For $2. Wow. Really? I'm just saying.
By the way, if you see me doing this, I've got a pinched nerve in my neck. So I'm like, I'm going like this. It's not because I'm dancing.
You're falling apart already, man.
I am.
We've got a lot to celebrate, though.
Yeah, and it used to be like, oh, how did you do that? Well, I jumped out of a plane and I landed funny, or I was in a fight scene, I did this. Now it's like I got out of bed and my back went out.
I'm hurt.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, how did you do it? I'll just come up with some crazy story. What I was doing.
A lot of people don't realize that Matthew Marsden was, how do I say this? A famous, well, you still are, singer. You had a music career early on in life.
Yeah,
Did your kids ever find some of your music and go, "Oh, Dad, why? What did you do?"
Do you know what? You know, it's funny. Like my son, who's away at college now, Finn was like, "Hey, Dad," because I never show my kids my movies,
right?
Or the TV shows. That they stumble on them like a lot of other people. My friends are like, you never told me you were like Stan Reacher, and I'm like, what was I meant to do? Like call all my friends up and go, hey, listen, I'm in this. But my son sent me a text the other day, and he goes, "This is the music I'm studying to," and he sent my album. So I was like, oh, that's nice. It's nice. You know what I mean?
So they just kind of stumble into it,
Yeah.
while they're away.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that what was funny was when I took, like I said, I took my son to college. I turn up there and we're going into his dorm and I look down and there's like a television area, with DVDs. And I look down and there's like Rambo, Black Hawk Down. I was like, when I come and visit next time, it's going to be kind of interesting going through the halls of residence, right?
I say so. I just think it would be kind of weird if I'm in the car in college, they got the radio going, and then all of a sudden you're like, man, that voice is familiar.
Yeah. You're like, that's my dad.
It's like, it's dad.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
weird, but
man.
it's just one of those things, like where I think that, for me, just growing up wanting to be an actor, and I wanted to like maximize my earning opportunity because I never really thought that I was going to succeed. You kind of hope you're going to succeed. So being able to sing was just another arrow in your quiver. So you need that to go and be able to do like musicals or whatever. And actually, before I had my big break in TV, I actually got offered a recording deal, but I turned it down. So I
Mm.
did that later. So yeah.
I want to ask about just some of the cool moments in movies that you've been a part of, if you don't mind. I'm going to fanboy a little bit.
All
Anytime
right.
I get to talk to Matthew Marsden, I always, I'm always like, what about this? What about that? But before we do that, the wonderful people that are watching, look at Ron Cook for $2. Wants you to know that he just subbed to Matthew's channel. So many others are saying that in the live chat. Thank you so much.
So grateful. Thank you.
Margaret says, I'm a member of his channel and I love it. So there you go. High praise. John just dropped 10 gifted memberships.
Nice.
To the YouTube, and Biggles dropped 5. Now let me just say this. I'm gonna teach Matthew a little YouTube stuff. So this is a live stream, but once it is finished, I download the live stream and it goes through a little editing process. Not too much is edited out, but we add the bumpers, the beginning of the podcast music and the end, and a couple things here and there. Like we might just condense it about 5-10 minutes, and then that goes to the Apple Podcasts and Spotify, which I think you should have as well. Very easy to do.
Well, you can teach me.
Yeah, yeah.
Teach me.
You get a
Jedi Master. I will learn.
You get a Podbean, and then you just link the Spotify and Apple. It's super simple, and you upload your live streams or your videos. So now it's out. And this live, unedited version is going straight to the members, so they get something special. So if you're a member of this channel, you get the unedited version, while all the other people, they get to watch like
all those other peasants.
So
I
that's
can't
something
say
you
that,
could
yeah.
offer your members, GJJ
Okay.
becomes a member. Thank you. But and then we'll just do that into, I'll get you all super chat questions or anything in the breaks. But you started acting not in America.
Mhm.
All right, you were on a little show across the pond. You remember that show?
I do remember that show. Yeah.
Are you still friends with people over there?
I am actually, yeah. So I mean, what the actual trajectory was that I was very lucky in the sense that because over in the UK, just so people know over there.
Yeah, I was gonna
very,
let you say it all and let you.
let me talk about me
Yeah.
for a second, Jay. It's never a dull moment when I do that. No, so and firstly, what I want to say is like when I started the YouTube channel, I was, I'm kind of like, who wants to listen to an actor? So I do want to get that out there, that it's not like I'm like the majority of the people in Hollywood who are like, hey, listen,
I'm gonna build it up. This whole hour is building it up as to why they should sub to your YouTube channel. So I got you.
But I'm saying, like, I'm like, what, and who wants to listen to a meat puppet talk? For the most part, they're like completely detached. But so I grew up, I grew up very poor, but I dreamt, I watched movies like Star Wars and Rocky, and I loved those films, and they kind of took me to a different place. And I was like, well, maybe I could do that for a living. And it was just like, don't be silly, you know. And that's why, you know, I have pretty much a tough exterior when it comes to like people criticizing me, because I've had it my whole life. I've been told that I'd never do it. I've been told that, you know, I'd never achieve anything my whole life. And so my first big break, actually, Jay, was getting into National Youth Theatre, which is like the premier youth theatre. And what that did for me was, because, you know, for the people in America to understand, like, the great thing about Hollywood is you can walk off the street and become a star. The bad thing about Hollywood is you can walk off the street and become a star, right? So that might mean that you don't have any training, you don't have anything. But in the UK, it's not like that. You have to go through a process, and pretty much there's a lot of nepotism. And
I can't
the
imagine.
the thing that broke it for me was getting in National Youth Theatre, because that's like, you are at the top of your game. You are the best in the country and one of the best in the world at doing what you do. So I got into that, and that opened a bunch of doors. And the first job I got was actually the third biggest show in the UK. And then I think it was a year or 2
And
years
what was
later.
that show called?
That one was called Emmerdale.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, I did something called Coronation Street, and that was just giant. It was 19 million people watched that show per night. It was just huge. And that just completely changed my life overnight. It really was, like, literally. So I think I told you this before. I'd get up and I'd walk down the street every day. I'd go through the gates. There'd be a bunch of people outside. I'd go through the gates of the studio, and I'd go and get my sandwich and my Diet Coke, and I'd come back, and nobody used to care. And then on the 3rd of March, which is my birthday, 1997, my episode aired. And like the Muppet I am, I go out the next day, 4th of March, and I go out, and it's like, and I'm like, better order in. I think I'm not going to go through that. And so, you know, and then I can show you this. Hold on. Within a few months, I'd won this, which is, you know, you guys would see people like Ricky Gervais hold these things up. That's a National Television Award, which I should polish it really, because this was in a box for 25 years, and I never got it out. And I was like, I should probably take that out.
Should put it on a shelf in the back. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put it there. It's a bit low. I know. Let's see. And I was like, I should probably take that out, right? Because I saw Ricky Gervais go, I just want to thank everyone for getting me this award. I was like, I got one of those. I better get it out, you know? So yeah, that was that. I did that for a year. I got out because I didn't want to be typecast. That's when I did my music. I did music for a couple of years, and then I did a film.
Wait, hold on. Sorry, didn't mean to stop you.
All right.
Not only did you do music, but you sang with Beyonce and
I
Destiny's
did, yeah.
Child.
Yeah.
A lot of people are probably like, what? Yes.
Yeah.
Beyonce herself, or I guess they were Destiny's Child
they were Destiny's Child
time. So it was just the three of them. So
yeah,
you did the song She's Gone.
Yeah, so that was funny. So I was in Sony Music in London, and we were playing the track. So I'd already recorded one version of the vocals, and we got like the backing and everything, because I wanted to do like one cover version on the album. And we're sitting there listening to it, and you know, you have the big speakers up there, and it's like booming out. And this black guy like sticks his head out around the door, and he goes, "Who's this? Who's this? This is amazing." And I was like, "It's me." And he goes, "I got to work with you. I got to work with you. You got to work with my girls." And I was like, okay. And within 2 hours, we're in the studio. Like, we just straight there. And that was it. And it was, you know, Beyonce was there, and she was, you know, very much the most talented person there, you know, she by far. And I think she was maybe 17 or 18 then. Absolutely gorgeous. And she came in, and she did the, you know, arranged the backing vocals and everything. And that was that, you know. And I remember thinking, she's going to be the biggest star in the world, because she got everything. She was beautiful. She was super, super talented. Her voice was just off the hook amazing. And actually, what's weird, Jay? She was very, very innocent, and she was just like a Christian girl from Texas. It's
Usually how it
crazy.
starts.
Honestly, dude, it is. And then I saw the progression. I'm like, I
And
don't
then the
even know what that
Hollywood
is.
injection.
Yeah. And I saw her like after because I did this movie with Michael Caine, and then I went and did Black Hawk Down. And so in 2000, I think it was 2000 or 2001, I bumped into her at a party. And I was actually going to go to Six Flags with her, which would have been really funny because she popped at that point, right? Destiny's Child had popped in. And I said, do you want to go to Six Flags tomorrow? I'm going to Six Flags. And she was like, oh, I can't go. Everyone will know. And I said, no, nobody's going to think that Beyonce is going to be going to Six Flags with some British guy. And we're all due to go. And then I got a phone call like late that night. She was like, hey, I can't make it tomorrow, but, just give me a call when you're back. Cause I was leaving a couple of days. And then, we just lost touch.
And that's another thing that happens usually with people, Hollywood people. It's like you guys become best friends on the set, and then you move to the next one.
Yeah,
and it's like, and there's a few that kind of stay together, and then there's a few that just, this is a job, and it was fun, it was cool, and maybe we get to do it again sometime. But I'm on to the next because, like you said, after a couple songs, you went into. Would you consider this? I don't know if would you consider this your biggest role, Black Hawk Down, or one of the most?
No.
Is that what you're most recognized for as far as movies? Or
no, I mean,
it's definitely one that a lot of people bring up because of the sensitive, or maybe not sensitive is not the right word, but because of what it was about. And
I think it's because it is one of the greatest movies of all time. I think it is one of the greatest, certainly the greatest war movies in the top 10 war movies. And, it was the first film to come out and really show what urban combat was.
Yes.
And then we won 2 Oscars for it. So, I mean, I already knew at that point, like, if I never do anything again, I've like done a great role in a great movie. And it was so iconic. And the thing is, as you get older, unfortunately, you get older and you become like the elder statesman, and people go, when I was at school, I watched that film, and I'm like, I'm an old man now. But I think that I think Rambo, because it's such an iconic part in an iconic series, that Rambo was kind of a throwback to the 80s action films. And so many people were like, oh, this is, which they do right now, right? They don't want to hear your politics. They just want you to go and make a great film. So Rambo, Schoolboy was such I think, an iconic role for a lot of people to see, because there'd been a whole generation of people that didn't know who Rambo was. You know what I mean? That was because
but they also that 80s, there was a lot of I don't know why Hollywood doesn't understand this. There's a whole group of people out there, especially, listen, men and women, that just want to see a hero kill all the bad guys.
Kill all the bad guys.
And win the day. There's nothing. That's the formula. You like Predator, Arnold, killed the bad guy and he won. It's just guns, and shooting the bad guy. He did Commando, the Rambo films. They go on and on and on. You could just start naming them, and they trickle down to different ones, and it's just.
Yeah, Top Gun comes out. It makes $gajillion because it doesn't preach to anybody. And by the way, this is the whole thing about this, the diversity BS, right? Like, I don't care that there are female pilots in it. I don't care that there are black pilots in it. It's just a great story, and it's not been thrown down our throats that this is a movie about diversity. It's just like, hey, there's a bunch of people. They've got to go and save the world. And, it's just a great film. And it makes a lot of money, and people go, why did that make a load of money? I'm like, honestly, you guys are morons, because it's really that simple. And I have when I started my own production company a few years ago, I have another one now, but I started going out and getting material, and it was all just action. It was all the stuff that I wanted to be in.
Yeah.
We've got to the point now where they're killing James Bond with woke.
I know.
which is I'd love to do an old school James Bond movie where he's a badass, dressed really well. He's flawed, he drinks a lot and he gets the gorgeous women because you're watching it and it's just entertainment.
That's
That's what
James
you
Bond. He
want.
drives the BMW. He's got the coolest watch in the land. He gets the girl, and he figures out how to win at the end. And no one ever knows who he is because he's the spy,
It's
right? So
fine.
like
It's
that's it.
great. It's great.
That's it. That's the formula.
It's all throughout time. It's funny because I've been doing a bunch of like looking back on old movies. Even this morning I was doing it. I was looking at like Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is like one of my all-time favorite movies.
Same.
I love Spielberg. Like if there's one person that I would love to work with before I die, it's him, because I think that he understands what sells,
Yeah.
really, really well. And he's got an insight into, I don't know, the human psyche that very few people do. And, Raiders for me, it's the perfect film. It's an absolute perfect movie from start to finish. And I feel the same way about Jaws as well. It's a perfect
Yeah,
film. Like
Jaws is up there.
whenever
All
it
right,
comes on, I'm like, I got to watch it.
give me the top 5. You got a
Oh
top
my
5
gosh.
perfect films and a top 5.
Top 5 perfect films.
I got Jaws,
Jaws
Raiders
up
of the
there.
Lost Ark,
Raiders is up
Back to
there.
the Future is on my list, and they're all like 80s. Isn't that crazy? Um,
Back to the
oh
Future is
man,
pretty perfect. Although when you watch it back, you're like, is that Dan Vasc out there? Are you
yeah,
serious?
yeah. Are you a
The
fan of
main man.
Dan Vasc?
Yeah, I love him. I think he's amazing. I think he's
Uh,
amazing.
you need to
So,
have Dan on your channel. He'd love to be on
I
your channel.
I need to get you on my channel. I need to get Dan on my. No, I mean he's the real deal. Dan is. He's the real deal, and he's super talented. Ah, yeah, schoolboy.
And
Um,
Dan also gifted 20 memberships to the channel. He must be a huge fan of yours. I don't know this Dan Vasc that well. I don't know him.
as I
He
was saying,
shows up in my chat from time to time, but I don't know.
that guy,
But
that
you
guy.
know,
You know what's funny? And I was just saying this to so the people know, uh, is that the YouTube community, which is something that I've, like I reluctantly got into, um, it's amazing. I mean, the people in it, and I think it's because it's like regular people. You know what I'm saying? Like just real people that are grounded and they can have conversations with you. Whereas, I mean, look, a lot of the concept, like, I mean, I love Gina. She's amazing. She's one of the real, like, normal people. But certainly in the conservative space in Hollywood, people just don't look after each other. They don't look out for each other. But the YouTube community really does. I mean, that they are. I was very, very surprised with how supportive everyone is. It's like, hey, get over there, go subscribe, Whereas in Hollywood, they're like, hey, listen, keep your little pot of money, like Smog, right? Like you're gonna live on top of it and you're not gonna share. And I'm very much more like this, or right?
yes,
I'm very much more like this, like very collaborative, and I believe that a rising tide lifts all boats.
yes.
So
I think if you find those right people on YouTube, of course there are YouTubers that are just as terrible as the next
mm,
person, but there's definitely, I personally think you stumbled upon the best YouTube community and the best chat and the best supporters I have ever seen.
yeah,
And this is why a lot of people don't like us. They don't understand why people are sending money to us. They don't understand that we're not falling in line, and
yeah,
supporting what they think. So they get upset with us. But from Geeks and Gamers and Gary, Nerdrotics, even Dan Vasc, honestly, and he hates compliments, has been one of my best friends. We talk all the time offline, and from everything you can possibly imagine, from relationship with God, things like that. It's incredible. And so I think you stumbled upon the best, and I'm just gonna say it.
it's true.
My chat
No,
is
it
the
is.
best, but we're all kind of in there together. But still, it's there's something about this group, and it's I wouldn't trade him for anything. I wouldn't trade him for anything. And I'm glad you got to experience, or you are experiencing a taste of what many of us have with these. Look at this, GJJ, another 10 gifted men. What are you guys doing, man?
We loved it.
What are you
And,
guys doing?
I got to tell you, Jay, no, it is true. I mean, it's like anything. There are bad actors
Yeah.
in every kind of like walk of life, but I have found, and you know what, I'll take it because as you know, for the longest time, there's only a few of us that stood up against the Borg, and then
Yes.
what you see is people that have been fans of movies and love movies, and they're like, hang on a second, these guys are my people, right? So I've been very lucky to be plugged in, and you were the first one to reach out to me, right? You were the first one.
I want
And
everyone to hear that loud and clear.
it's true. You were the first
When
one.
Matthew Marsden's YouTube channel soars above the rest.
Yeah. You
Maybe
were the
one day
first
he'll
one.
go, I remember that, what's his name? Greg? Yeah, he was the
That
first
Fred
one.
guy. No, you were the first one to reach out to me, and like I said, it wasn't even on my radar to do it, and to be honest, it's been a lot of fun. It's a lot more like theater, where you get immediate response from people.
My thing was, I remember those conversations back then. I was like, excuse me, Mr. Marsden, big fan here. Like, I was like, would you be interested in doing an interview? And I was like, I will be very professional. I sent him
you were the first one.
I
You
sent
were
him
the
the
first
letter
one.
of letters, chat. Like, I would be professional. I will never, ever say anything, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, maybe. And then, like, I didn't hear from you for like a month. And then I was like, hey, just following up. You're like, yeah, let's do it this time. And then you're like, no, I can't. I'm overseas. And no, I think I was messaging you when you were filming Reacher. That's what I think what was going on.
Right.
You didn't tell me it was Reacher, but like looking at the timeline, it was around that. And Comics Dad for $5 says, welcome to the rebellion, Matt. We love you, man. Also, don't forget about Jay's book. I got you, Jay. I appreciate that. Hey, we're all doing our part to get rid of the nonsense that's been shoved down our throats for the past
it's
years.
happening though as well, right?
It
This is, I gotta say that it's such an exciting time for me, because I think that we had this like cloud over us for a long time where like normal people were going, hang on a minute, like this isn't the world that I don't recognize this world that they're telling me I'm living in. And it's odd because you have one thing like a presidency that comes in, like Trump comes in, and you realize that the majority of the country's just like had enough, because most people are just normal. They want to get on with their lives.
You just want to be left alone, have a nice cup of coffee.
But they won't leave you alone. This
No.
is the thing, that they will not leave you alone. And so then you're like, okay, I'm done. And what it's done is it's given a lot of people permission. Like if you go back to like 2015, you would not have seen an 18, 19-year-old in a MAGA cap.
Oh, no.
Now they're all wearing it. My
Yeah.
son wore his back to college, and people were like, hey man, great cap, great cap. It's like people are like, I'm done. You're not going to shame me anymore.
No, and what I love now, and then we're going to get into that because I want to ask you about like Hollywood, and what I love now is that they keep exposing themselves as who they are, and they don't understand why they lost, and they talk down, like, and I was like, listen, people are so tired of being talked down to, being called names, being called racist and misogynist and and phobes for not agreeing with
whatever
is just
you
like,
want.
we're all tired of it. And it's like the election should show you that we all got sick of it. It's like we all got sick of it.
Yeah, and by the way, I want to bring back this thing because somehow the other side, I won't say they are, but the other side managed to say that if you said, hey, listen, I have black friends, that is in some way bad. And I'm like, how do you manage that then? That's literally, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh, I've got black friends and you've got Hispanic friends. Yes, that's literally what it means, right? That you aren't prejudiced towards people because these people are your friends and they consider you to be a friend, because that doesn't matter to you. And you know what I mean? It's been one of those things now where you go.
I always felt like you could give away money, but if you don't think the way they think, you're a bad person for doing so. It's just
Yeah.
that's how crazy it gotten. And you're right. People are like, we've had enough. Now I have to do something here. I hope this doesn't embarrass you. It does. It's not
Uh-oh.
about you, but I have a rule. Anytime someone gives over 5 memberships to the channel, we play a special little video. So we have gotten so many, so I have to play it. They're all asking for it in the chat, and it's my little Rose Tico dance. So thank you guys for doing this on the. And a couple. Jones says, greetings, Jay and guest. Now, I hope you learn all about Matthew Marsden if you didn't already know. And Jeanette. All right, I'm going to see if I get this name right. Hi, Jay and Matthew. My husband, Marius. Did I say that right? Marius Goat movie is Black Hawk Down. Please give him a shout out. He will blow his mind when I show him later. So she wants you to say hi to. Did I say it right, Marius?
Marius. Rangers lead the way, man. Black Hawk Down forever. There you go.
That's it. There's your shout out. Then you can play it back. Mountain Mutt says, hail, Mr. Marsden. Jay and chat, hope all are well. Everything is great. Everything is great. All right. Oh, she's happy. Listen, my brother is a massive Matthew Marsden fan. And I remember we were in, it was like years ago, we were at a convention. I think it was Dallas. Yeah. And I was like, I was trying to call him so you could do Schoolboy on the phone. And I was like, forget it. Just leave a message, you know? He wouldn't answer the phone. And he was so upset. He was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
I'm not picking this up to Jay. Like, no, cancel.
That was so funny. Oh man, look at Yellow Flash dropping a super sticker. Thank you, Yellow Flash, for messing up my live stream again. Good friend of mine. Terrible super chatter. All right, so I'm gonna play this. And then I want to ask you about what is going on in Hollywood. I think you should do more of these. In my honest opinion, I think this was great at first. And it also proves that people don't watch the whole video.
Yeah, they don't.
This thing is like got 100,000 plus views on Twitter, and people are like all losing their mind in the chat. And you're like, just watch the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll go. Leave.
And let us know, chat. Does this not sound like the Hollywood of 2024?
Hi there. I am a principled liberal actor, and I have a message for all you maggots out there that voted for the orange bigot. Hollywood is a tolerant place. We accept everyone. We are welcoming, and if you feel scared, you can. Zachary Levi did what? He came out for Trump. You get my agent on the phone right now, and you tell him that movie I had with Zachary Levi, that's gone. I am not working with him. And you can put him on that list with Gina Carano, Nick Searcy, that Marsden guy, the asshole that he is, Rob Schneider. That's it. They will never work in this town again. As I was saying, there is no place for hate in Hollywood.
This it.
Hi there.
That's it.
I am a principled liberal actor.
Yeah,
what has happened to Hollywood, man? How did this? First of all, 2 questions.
Yeah.
How did this happen to Hollywood, and how did you escape it? As Yellow Flash just dropped 20 99-cent super stickers as a troll. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you, man. Thank you, my good friend.
Funny.
Yellow Flash. Yeah.
You know, I mean, this is the funny thing. I was just like, and by the way, just so people know, I did that yesterday. I was just like messing around, and I realized I'm like, actually, I can act, you know, so I could probably do some of these funny things. But it was in my head, right? And instead of like writing it down on Twitter, because that's me writing down on Twitter, right? That's exactly how I write on Twitter. I was like, I'll just do it, like, and show the hypocrisy. But the funny thing is just so the people know, there were people on there like going, you need to get out of the country, you asshole. Like, yeah. I'm like, I literally say on it, that Marsden asshole, and my name is right there. But I'll take that. And the Oscar goes to.
That's right.
I think that they have forgotten who has put them
Mm,
where they are. And it used to be. So I have a bit of a theory. Do you want to hear my theory, Jay? Do you want to hear
absolutely.
my theory? Okay. So if you look back, I guess like the golden era, say the golden era of cinema, and even into like the 50s and 60s, you had veterans that were the lead actors. Steve McQueen was a veteran. Uh, uh, what's his name? George Bailey. Why am I blanking on his name now? From It's a Wonderful Life. Come on, guys, help me on
Oh,
the
Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart. He flew 52 bombing missions over Europe. I think he retired a brigadier general. All these guys, even Clint Eastwood is a veteran, and so they had a real respect for life, right?
Mm,
And when you're in a foxhole, it doesn't matter where you're from, right? It doesn't matter. It's all about, like they say in Black Hawk Down, it's all about the man next to you. And I think they had a healthy respect for the people that they went and fought and could have died for. And then what happened in the 80s is you had a bunch of people like, you had Stallone and Schwarzenegger and all those, big action stars. They came out huge, very patriotic era, right? Like through the Reagan years. But what happened then was the agents started to get more power, right? Like CIA wasn't around back then. I
what
mean,
is the CAA,
CIA, why can't I?
or what does it do?
Oh, CIA's. He was my agent for Creative Artist Agency.
Okay.
The CIA was my agent for 6 years. There's a few big agencies. William Morris Endeavor being one. Creative Artist Agency, another. They're the two like kind of powerhouses, really. And so what they did was they started to like curate the content and curate who was coming up as the big stars. So if you look, certainly after the era of the action star, they started trying to make people action stars who weren't, right? Like Jake Gyllenhaal is not an action star. He's just not. So you can look at all those guys, and that's why now the biggest star in the world is a 60-year-old man. It's Tom Cruise, right? Because they didn't allow another era of young leading men to come up. I mean,
Mm,
even Brad Pitt is up there in his 60s. And I can tell you this as an actor, going up for certain roles, that's what happens. You go up and you'd be like, okay, well, there's this role coming up. Now they're going with somebody older. And it was inevitably, these bigger names from before, but they never gave the youngsters a shot. So if you were to look and say, well, who are the big actors that are below the age of 40, for example, the majority of them are very feminine, right? They're not very masculine people, and they don't choose roles that resonate with regular people because the agents became so powerful. They promoted the people that they wanted to take over the industry. And so what you have then is you have people that have, and I've explained this before on my channel, like I'm sure the people know here. Let's say if you have someone like Gina, let's say Gina, for example. So Gina's on a big show. That means that she can go out now and command a certain amount of money for a movie. But what it also means is she means a certain amount of money for that movie, which means that the budget can be offset against Gina, right? So like when I did Anacondas, I could greenlight movies at that point. So if you can greenlight a movie, and that might mean Matt Marsden means $6 million in international sales. Okay, so that means anything under $5 million means is going to be a profit, right? I mean, that's just like basic kind
yeah,
of,
yeah. No,
just
but it's
basic
good to
math.
explain because like a lot of the stuff I don't even know like
Yeah,
how that
yes.
works. So
So let's just say let's just say you come to me and you're like, Matt, I've got this movie and it's there's nothing woke in it. It's a good family friendly movie. how much can I make it for? Like, can you get it made? And I say, well, okay, well, who can I go to that will greenlight that movie? Like, who can I get attached to the film that can greenlight it? Okay, I'll go and get Kevin James. I've got to pay Kevin James $5 million, say, to come and do the movie, but he means $10 million to me in foreign sales. And I don't know how much in domestic sales. So what that means then is I can make the movie for $5 million in foreign sales, like actual meat and potatoes, get the movie made. When you don't have anyone that's going to greenlight a movie that you like, what you get? You get movies that are greenlit that nobody wants, but it's more internal, right? So think about this. You look at the Avengers, all those guys that came out on the Avengers. I mean, Robert probably gets like $20 million a movie, maybe 25, maybe more. But he can greenlight a film.
Yeah.
But every one of those people that came out are Kamala Harris supporters. So what kind of films are they going to promote?
Right.
They're not going to go and do an action movie that's very patriotic. So it's kind of, now we're at a point where we can't break the cycle, because the majority of the people that greenlight films are liberals that want to make movies that promote their own agendas. And Tom Cruise is the only one out there that's like, that famous thing at the end of, or at the beginning of Top Gun where he goes, I made it for you.
Yeah.
Because he knows what his job is. And these other people, they've got this kind of like inflated sense of ego. And that's why when people get canceled out of Hollywood, like myself, like Gina, then we have an inability to get movies made that you guys would want to watch. So that's what happens, right? So now, I mean, I don't know, the biggest star is Timothy Chalamet. Like, he's probably the biggest young star.
Maybe you might want to, like, might say Chris Pratt is in there.
But he's over 40.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about younger.
Young.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds is 50.
Over, yeah. There's nobody, dude. There's nobody.
Now that I think about it, you're right. I'm trying to.
There's nobody.
And who could command, like, what actor? That's
Tom
right.
Holland
Tom Holland just plays Spider-Man. Honestly,
is he in his and he's super talented.
He doesn't do anything else though. But see, when Tom Holland's in a Spider-Man film, let's be honest, people go to see Spider-Man, not so much Tom Holland.
Spider-Man is the mask.
Yeah.
Right. Spider-Man's the mask. With Superman, it's the face, right? Like, you see Superman. So I think there's a difference. Like I love Henry Cavill. I think he's an amazing Superman. I was actually watching a video on the original, the 1978 Superman, which is just fantastic. I mean, I remember going to the cinema there. But when you don't wear the mask, you are more of the character, I think. You know what I'm saying? So, people go, but listen, I love Tom Holland. I think he's a super talented guy, but he's not like, you couldn't imagine him doing First Blood.
No, it wouldn't fit.
Where's that going to come from?
Right.
So it's a problem.
And I think that's why when Rambo, the Rambo that you were in, came out, so many of us were just, we missed the tough guy that kills the bad guy. Like, that's it. And when it was, I just remember watching it, and you're like, okay, a little slow. Then like body parts are flying. It's like, that's it, man.
Yeah.
And basically the end of the film is him getting on a giant gun and just killing everybody. Like, that's it. And then you taking a couple people out on the sniper, and it's like, all right, movie done. And it's how much could that budget have been for a movie like that? It couldn't have been, the crazy thing that I see now, speaking of budgets, is, and I know you see this too, is they're spending $300 million
it's insane
on movies that are making 50 million in the box office.
Yeah, because, but there's a number of reasons for that. The first reason is that the money that they are using is basically, I know what you're saying. I mean, you're basically saying like Captain America, right? Or Captain Falcon or whatever.
I'll take one better. The Acolyte for Star Wars was a Disney Plus show that nobody watched, had the lowest view, which is crazy, the lowest views for any Star Wars project that they ever put out, and they spent $250 million
It's insane. It's insane.
for
And
20-minute episode, like eight, what was it? 20-minute episodes. And that was, and you're kind of like, what?
but that was built. Here's the thing, but that was built on the back of a back catalog that is incredible, that goes back almost 100 years now, right? Like in Disney, that's what they've got. And so they bet on you going and watching Snow White and going, which by the way, Snow White is going to be the nail in the coffin of that company.
Oh man, it's gonna be bad.
It's over. But here's the thing. So, and I've spoken to billionaires, right? Like billionaires have come to me and they've said, because I have a business background as well as an acting background. And so I've laid it out to these people, like, this is the way you've got to do it. You have to do a portfolio approach. You have to, for like $100 million, I could do, 100 $1 million movies, or I could do 10 million movies. And you make all your money back, right? Because one of those, in like a Bloomhouse model, where you're going to make one that's going to hit, right? And then they go, oh, it's a lot of money. And you're like, The Acolyte, one show, one TV show with lesbian space witches in it, $250 million. And I'm like, you guys don't understand. You're not even in the vicinity. It's when people say, well, the Daily Wire, and Angel Studios, it's nowhere near enough. It's nowhere near enough. And I've said this over and over. I think look, the only way that Disney comes back from this, in my opinion, is if they hire you lot and the Friday Night Tights crew to go in there. And I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm dead serious, because they've lost the goodwill of everybody. Like, nobody cares anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. I mean, the only reason why people, I know this, like most people have Disney Plus anymore, is because Bluey's on it, and they're going to try and out woke Bluey at some point, and then that'll be it.
That's it. I just can't get over. So there's like you mentioned Captain America, the new one that's coming out, and the reports are the budget for that film is $450. They're not confirmed yet, but they've already reshot the film 3 times because it's testing so bad. Apparently, I don't know how that works. That's why I'm glad you're here. Do they do like testing with certain people? Do some movies do that? And then do they honestly listen to feedback? Or
oh yeah, they do.
Okay.
They do. I mean, look, I'll tell you this right now. Like, making a movie by committee is the worst thing you can do, right? Like, it just is. I always say that you have to be a benevolent dictator. That's why you go in the movies that you love are like Christopher Nolan, right? Because Christopher Nolan comes in and he goes, this is my movie and I'm going to make it. But what has happened is, with the DEI hiring at Marvel and at all the other aspects of Disney, you've got, and I mentioned this the other day, like, as a writer, you should write about what you know, right? Like, that is,
yes,
you apply that to your screen. You know this, right? You apply it to your screenwriting. And even if I'm not saying like if you write Alien that you got to write about because you know about aliens, but there are certain elements to those screenplays that are based on, primal fears, certain things, being in a enclosed space, whatever that might be. And that all reflects for us, right? So when you've got a bunch of DEI hires that aren't very good at their job and they get to that high level, they're writing about what they know, which is pretty much nothing, which is going and doing a gender study degree at USC.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that one woman was Harvey Weinstein's right-hand woman. And I'm like, really? Like, that's who you put up there? But then when they start writing this material, it's nothing that we can relate to. Like, Stallone, when he wrote Rocky, was broke. He literally had to sell his dog.
Yeah.
Right. He sold Butkus, right? He sold his dog. And Rocky is him. Rocky is him down. Even he talks about this all the way through the Rocky movies. Like, when he got to Rocky 3, he was like, everyone's telling me I'm great and I feel like a fraud. Right? Like, I feel like I haven't really gone out and done. And so that's a great example of someone who is writing about what they know. So what you have is you've got something like, and let me explain this to people as well. The reason
Yeah.
why the Pixar movies are so good is what they do is they'll do like a storyboard and they'll go out and they'll test it, right? So they might do a storyboard, which is, the pictures, and they'll go and play the movie and people will go, no, I don't get that and that, and they'll take that out before they even get to doing the rendering and before they do the making of the film, right? So they've already tested. And that's why you watch a Pixar movie. It's super tight, right? It's super tight. Storyline's great. All the characters are fantastic. That's not what it's like in other forms of filmmaking. So what you will do, Spielberg famously says there's 3 movies. He makes 3 movies, right? It's the one that is in pre-production, the one in production, the one in post-production. There's 3 separate movies. So with something like the Captain America, they have written it from some kind of like woke angle. They kind of go, hang on a minute, this probably isn't going to work. By the way, they should have just said that's it. And the Falcon should not be Captain America, and they should have waited like 5-10 years, then brought another Captain America out. I mean, there's all these different characters they could have used.
Well, just like what you said, I'm going to pull this up.
Mm-hmm.
For people like me that love comic books, I have boxes of comic books as a kid, and that's why I fell in love with MCU early on. That's why I love Transformers is one of my favorite IP. I love anyone that ever read a comic book will look at this poster and go, this is terrible, only because he's the Falcon and he doesn't have superpowers. And if the Hulk punches him, even if he's holding a shield, he would be dead. So like, they're already starting off for like people with it's like you said, they don't know what they're writing. They don't know what they're doing. They're just throwing it out there, hoping that it will stick. Now, let me show you this. I want to ask you this as well, because you've been in the movies. This is for their movies, the Thunderbolts that's coming out. And if you notice, the AI, this is an AI generated because this dude has 6 fingers. And they tried to cut it off, like to say, oh, we'll just cut it off and the people won't notice. These are big they're spending a lot of money on these superhero films. Now you've done posters and stuff like.
Yeah. Look at that one.
Does that get
That's one guy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one guy. That's one guy because it's Rambo. And so what has happened?
I mean, how does that get past? Like, doesn't someone check these things and go?
Yeah, they do, but they're all too worried. So what you got to remember is this: is they have DEI'd the hell out of Disney, right? So if you have, let's just say, I'm not saying it is, but let's just say you've got a black female that does that poster, and they take it in, and there's a white dude that's reviewing it. Is he going to say this is bad? No. Of course he's not.
Job.
Because it's going to be like, oh, you're racist, you're this. They all know this, right? Like turning around and saying that Anthony Mackie, who's a terrific actor, right? He's a great actor, but him becoming Captain America is ridiculous, and it's not needed. And what it is, it all goes back to not having respect for the source material, because the source material, for the most part, was written by white men. And so they're like, nothing that white men can do is good. We have, look, even if you look in the Native American cultures, right? Everybody looked up to the grandparents, the elders. It was a thing. Now what you've got is a whole generation of participation trophy, untalented people saying, I know better than all you. I know better than Tolkien. I'll write it better than Tolkien. I'll write it better than Bob Kane. I'll write it better than Stan Lee, right? They have no reverence for what came before them because they are smarter. They are better, right? The only reason why they didn't succeed before was they were kept down. It's all BS, right? And we've seen it in movies for the longest time. The only reason, like I said before, the only reason why it hasn't completely collapsed is because they have all those films going back, 50, 60 years that people love, that still buy for their kids because they want their kids to see Bambi. They want their kids to see Dumbo or whatever it is. So that's why they go on those channels. There's nothing, I don't think, I didn't see Agatha All Alone. It's funny because the guys asked me to go on Friday Night Tights, right? And they were like, well, we're doing Agatha All Alone this week. I'm like, I'm not watching it. Then they were like, we're doing The Acolyte. I went, I'm not watching that either. Right? Like, so I have no desire. And I'm a Star Wars fan and I'm a comic book fan. But like you say, you look at that. Number one, oh, by the way, Brave New World. If anybody knows anything about literature, right? Because I studied Aldous Huxley, right? That's not a good title for a film.
It was called originally New World Order.
We even,
I mean, I know. I was like, what are they thinking? And my good friend that actually works with Star Wars is in the chat, and he gifted 5 memberships to the podcast. Thank you, Knee Pain. I hope you're doing well, brother. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, and look, I mean, at the end of the day, what you need is a great story that there's been a phenomenon, and it kind of happened, I guess, with Star Wars. If you look at the original poster with Star Wars, there's a lot of people on it, right? Because they're showing, Luke Skywalker, what a disappointment that Muppet's become, right?
Oh,
like
my.
Luke Skywalker and all that. But for the longest time, you just had just very, like the simple posters, the ones you remember, right? Like, so you think about Raiders of the Lost Ark, just Harrison, right? With Raiders over the top. Jaws is the shark, like the iconic shark. Even if you look at something like Legally Blonde, it's Reese Witherspoon. But what has happened now is they have so little confidence in their storytelling. What they do is they'll go, okay, well, I'm going to do this film called Captain America. Okay, you do it. Everybody loves that movie, right? Great film. And then they're like, okay, well, I'm going to do Captain America Winter Soldier. Okay, I think that was the second one, right? I think
that was probably everyone's #1 Marvel film of all time, too.
Okay, right? Right. But they start putting, oh, well, I can't have the confidence just have one, superhero in it. And then you get to Civil War, right? And it's an Avengers movie with everybody in it. And it's because they think if you have one superhero in it, that's good. 2 superhero, better. 3 superhero, even betters. 4 superheroes, better than betters, right? So that's what they do. That's their thinking, right? Is that more equals better and more equals more revenue. And we all know that that is not true. I mean, you've seen it with, certainly if you look at Logan or that movie. I mean, they are so afraid. And what it used to be, Jay, let me just say this. What it used to be is this. Now I'm going to tell your audience this.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to get a movie made, right? And if you look in history, if you look at any of the stories of the old movies, that you had powerhouse directors that basically willed these things into existence, right? For a lot of the time, they'll go and they'll get a great story, and then they'll get an actor, and then they'll will it into existence, right? Now it's made by committee. It's pieced together by committee. It's not by real creatives. You could swap out the directors of any of the Marvel movies, really.
Yeah.
You can swap them out. They're they're interchangeable. But if you look at Inception, you can't swap out that director.
Excellent.
Right? You can't do it. Now, you could argue you could swap out the actors, but the truth is that is a screenplay and a director that's where it starts. And what we've done is we've decided that because the accountants run Hollywood, right? So what they've said is
it's so horrible to hear too, man. The accountants run Hollywood, but yeah, I hear you.
It's just true. And what is everyone's looking at each other. And so think about this. When they're going in, they're like, okay, well, we're going to use IP, right? Establish IP. That's my job safe a little bit because you know what? Everybody loves, let's say like Lord of the Rings. Everybody loves Lord of the Rings. Ooh. Okay, so we've got Lord of the Rings. Now what do we do? Then they look at the next piece of the pie that will make it so that they don't lose their job when the movie doesn't make money. So let's say for The Hobbit, for example, which was horrible, and I say this all due respect, one of my buddies is in that movie, they'll go, well, it's The Hobbit, it's Peter Jackson, and it's all these other people. Like I got Benedict Cumberbatch in there, and or Slappity Back Fisty Buns, whatever you want to call it. I'm joking. I love that joke about his name. But they put these names in.
But yeah.
And then they'll go, well, it wasn't our fault. We did everything we could. Instead of going, what is the best decision? And the best decision is not to make it 3 movies. You know what I mean? The best decision is to take your time, or maybe even just not make it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I sometimes you see films like that and you're just like, this was just a cash grab.
100. Well, that wasn't it? I mean,
it was like, we need a couple new jets around here. All right, let's just dump out a couple films and we'll just put some names in it and hope for the best.
But you know, the funny thing is initially people go, oh, well, you know, I just want to go and see The Hobbit. I don't care. Right. I don't care.
Sure.
And then by the 3rd one, and then by the 4th, like Avengers movie and the, you know, cash grab on Indiana Jones and whatever, people are going, you guys are just milking me, aren't you? Because I can see it over multiple different things. And that's when people have gone, no, you've burnt up every bit of goodwill. I'm done.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, they're there. Like, most people just refuse to go to the cinema anymore. Number one, it's way too expensive, especially to see a mediocre and not see. And like you said earlier, now that I think about it, you're right. Like there's no stars under the age of 30 that draws a crowd. They made a Madam Web film and they filled with beautiful women, thinking that would be, you know, that would bring, you know, Sydney Sweeney and everyone else. And that was like the biggest flop ever. You know, and then I wanted to ask you this as we approach the hour mark, and don't let me keep you longer than you have.
I'm good.
You have time.
I'm good.
We in your video you mentioned Zachary Levi.
Yeah,
and he's just let it loose, right? And he made a statement on Twitter, and I'm curious on, you know, about. I've met him twice now at one of these cons, and he's very. He feels in his soul that the Hollywood that we see today it is in a spiral, a plane without an engine, flying fast, and pretty soon there's not going to be anything left, because they're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars and no one's going to see it, and they're going to bid it. He talks about that. He's like, they'll put out in the theater, no one will see it, and hopefully some streaming service will buy it where they can recoup some losses. But the only thing that will be left are these massive companies that own, like, it's like for Disney. Disney makes money on theme parks. They make billions of dollars a year on theme parks. They make money here. They make money there. They own ABC. They own ESPN, or I think, anyway, they own a lot of stuff. So if their movies are failing, they can pull from other places and just dump into it. So those type of companies won't be affected, but others, you know,
I still.
How
think
do you feel about that? Like, do you think that statement is true? Do you think it can be saved, or is it like the future is the future? And I'm leading it into I Am That Man that you did. You know, it's like, is that the future?
Yeah, the future is where we are right now. Actually, the future is building an alternate economy to what they're doing, because and this is what I've gone on and on and on about, you know, on X, about people coming over and subscribing and doing all that, because let's just say, you know, you've got 1 million followers, right? You can say to someone, hey, listen, if you guys give $10 each, we can go and make a really great film.
Yeah.
And you can. Right. And then all of a sudden you are giving the people what they want, and they trust you because they've seen you over a period of time espouse these beliefs, you know, these, I say virtues to a degree, right? Because you're like, I don't this disgustingness in the film, and you're not going to make a movie that goes and does that. I don't think that they can keep pulling from other areas, because, I mean, even when it comes to, there are some hardcore people that will always watch the football and whatever, but I know people that are like, after the Colin Kaepernick thing, they're like, I'm never watching a football game ever again. I'm done. I'm fed up of being lectured to. So it's not a given. I mean, they'll be better off, but they'll start selling. Like, I think they'll probably sell Lucasfilm.
They'll start
Because
selling off IPs.
yeah, I mean the big money that comes in is actually from merch, because so if you look at something, so people know, everyone will ask, like, why was there a second Hulk movie, right? Now the embarrassing thing, I was actually there when Eric got the call to do the first Hulk, and
Okay.
and I thought it was an amazing opportunity. I was like, it's Ang Lee, like, shooting the first Hulk, like, yeah. And he was actually, because he was getting every offer. And I actually went to the premiere of that one as a guest of Eric's, actually. But it was a horrible film, right? I mean, he's great in everything. If you guys haven't seen Eric Bana in Chopper, it's one of the performances of a lifetime. It's unbelievable.
That's the Australian, right? The true story.
Yeah, the
of
Australian one.
Right.
It is. I was doing Black Hawk Down with him, and I had 2 weeks off. That's how big that movie was. I had 2 weeks off, so I flew back to the UK, and I was like, "What's this movie this guy Eric's done?" And I watched it, and I came back, and I was like, "Dude, that is your work for the rest of your life now. That is such a phenomenal, performance." But the reason why is, I think it made like $1 billion selling Hulk hands.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Right, Hulk hands. And then they wanted to do a second lot of Hulk hands so they could get more lovely green Hulk hands cash. So they made a second movie and put out a second pair of Hulk hands, right? So it's not just as simple. When you own the IP, when you own the merchandising, blah, 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 it's not just the film. And I think, I mean, I remember the first movie to really, that in my lifetime, not including Star Wars because I was so young, but the first movie to really blow up with merchandising was the Tim Burton Batman, because it was just everywhere. It was on cereal packets. I remember that.
Everyone had a shirt, a Batman shirt.
Oh, that just iconic shirt, amazing. So there are other ways of making money, right? And people always go back. Like, I will still go back and watch Raiders of the Lost Ark with my kids. I'll still go back and watch, because they're iconic, right? But I mean, I actually won't watch Star Wars now. It's been destroyed for me with their antics. I just can't watch it anymore. But I think that what's going to happen is there's going to be a decentralization of entertainment. And I think it's going to come to individuals, right? And that's why, like, for me, I've been trying to say to people, like, if you come over, you like and subscribe to my stuff, there's going to,
there's going to comment and the description. Head on over.
So, but if you do it, then what it does is, when I can go and speak to these people, and this, I can say, look, I've got 300,000 people that are going to come and watch this film, right? I've got X amount of, and then when you join forces and you start going like, hey, like, Will, you want to draw, your script, write your script, send it over to me. I've got access to the people in Hollywood to get to the actors that you might need, or the directors you might need. And then you start like pooling your resources and building an alternate economy. And that's the way to go, because a lot of people say, well, what about Angel Studios? What about Daily Wire? It's not enough. It's not enough. No. Daily Wire have done very well with their documentaries. I don't think they'll do very good scripted stuff. I'm just being honest with you. And Angel Studios has been good when they purchase stuff, and they've been, I mean, The Chosen is amazing, right? Like, The Chosen is amazing. But
is that the mark? Is that the standard? The Chosen? It's fun. It's fan funded. They raised money, so that's why they were able to give it out for free.
Everybody, but it's Jesus, paid. Right? I mean, you can't make everything about. Look,
but yeah, I'm just saying, as far as doing films, would that be the next standard? As far as like,
no, and I'll tell you why. I don't think the burden should be on the fans and the audience, right? I think it should be, the investor model is fine, because look, I'm always reluctant. People have said to me, why don't you go out and like crowdfund this? I'm always reluctant to do that, because I think that what would be great is to have a loyal following and you give them what they want. The Chosen did that, by the way. They made it, right?
Right.
They didn't crowdfund it first. They made it, they put it out, and then they said, you know, pay it forward, right? Like, give me a donation, give me that's fine. But I think that to go out and get multiple different revenue sources, because the culture is so important. And if conservatives abandon the culture and they don't think it's important, and that's why we don't have beautiful buildings, that's why we don't,
Yes.
and we need beautiful buildings, we need beautiful churches, we need beautiful stories. And we have so many conservatives that are just hyper focused on politics and putting like $100 million in a Senate campaign that's going to lose. When
Yes.
if you give artists $100 million, they'll give you a generation of youngsters, right? I mean, I still to this day listen to Eye of the Tiger when I work out.
Mm.
And I still think of Rocky. And look, everyone loves that running down, ba, 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 ba.
Everybody
I mean,
knows it. It's iconic. So,
and
yeah.
here's the thing, Jay, we have been gaslit for at least the past 8 years, 10 years. And people have been told, no, you didn't build that. They've been told, no, you can't do that. No, there's a barrier to entry. You can't go into Hollywood. Gina comes out and says something that's completely innocuous. She's gone. Right. Well, the tide is turning now.
Yeah.
People are saying, you're not doing this to me anymore. And that is so powerful. Like, I just want to say this just quickly, and I've been yabbering on.
No, go for it.
But what you are seeing right now is the American people gave a mandate to the politicians, and they were like, we want Trump, and we want what he's been saying, and we're not accepting the woke BS anymore. Well, what happened when they nominated these 3 senators, right? 2 rhinos and one that's better than the others, but not, I mean, I would much rather it be, Mike Lee. But people have gone out and they've gone, no, we're not accepting John Cornyn. We don't want him. And Texans are like, no, we can't stand him anyway. And guess what? It's moving the needle. And this is what we keep like, people have been told what you say doesn't matter. And I know it's weird, but when we were going to this election, I don't know if you were like this. I'm like, they're going to cheat again. And
I was very nervous.
Very, very nervous, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't. Number one, they did a great ground game, but the American people came out en masse and said no. Now they know. Like, I'm like, we've been trying to tell you this for forever. Don't let them gaslight you into thinking that you don't have a say.
I feel, and this is, I don't know if it's a hot take or whatever, I honestly feel that it was in some way a good thing that Trump didn't win the second term, only because I don't think Elon would have bought Twitter if he had done his second term.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like Trump was all by himself trying to fight against this stuff. He was fighting the Republicans. He was fighting the Democrats. He was his own vice president, didn't really do anything. And now there is like this amazing group around him that is willing to take a different piece of the pie, and say, I could fix the health crisis. I could fix the education. I could take care of this. Trump, we got big problems. You handle that. Put this guy over here. He'll take care of that, and he'll report to you. So make sure it's all set. That guy will do that. This guy will do that. And now you handle the world issues like we need it handled, and put America back where it needs to be. And I don't think he had that first time around. Well, I know he didn't have it the first time around because it was just, he fought with everybody. Now we see the crumbling of the mainstream media, the rise of the podcaster as far as, news, Elon owning a social media. It's just very different than if he would have stayed in office another. Now I could see him doing his 4 years and then having a team of people building on top of it, on top of it, on top of it. And I love the fact that these progressives are still crying, oh, it's It's the racism that costs it. Let them. I hope they say
And everyone's like,
for 4 years.
I don't
Yeah.
care. We don't care. The great thing about this, Jay, and I think you're right. I think that it was difficult at the time. But what you've seen, by the way, is you look around, and because of what happened before, I know I can't mention it, but that like time where we couldn't go outside,
Yeah.
people all of a sudden they were like, oh, hang on a minute, like there's real tyranny here. Like there's a real potential for tyranny. And so what you've got, by the way, is, and there's certain people like Gina, like actually I'm going to give myself props
Like
right now,
yourself, man.
like myself,
yourself.
when we had everything to lose. We had everything to lose to come out and say, no. We care more about the country than our own jobs, than our own ability to earn. And what that's done now is, this is what I was saying about this little community that you have, is that people are like, he's got my back. Like, you see like Dan Bask, it's like, Dan, when it was all going down there, and you were like, he's never going to bend, all this kind of. So all of a sudden you've got people that you can look at and you can go, well, hang on a minute. These guys, when it was like all his lost moment, right? They were like, no, we're not going to do that. And so if you think about this, what benefit, if you look back at when Elon went out and put $44 billion in to buy Twitter. And do you remember everyone was like, he's overpaid. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
He'd seen all the Twitter files, right? When he was going in there, he'd seen it. So he was like, this is it. This matters. This really, really matters. So if you look at in the scheme of things, he had everything to lose. Everything to lose. RFK, his dad and his uncle were both killed by the deep state, right? He had everything to lose. And now he's coming over and he's like, no. I'm going to come in and I'm going to fix this, because he's already been ostracized now by his family, right? They've said, we don't want anything to do with him. So now you've got two people there. You think that they're not going to clean house? Like what's their whole point in going from making hundreds of millions of dollars to going into a government position because they're not going to make money from it? You know what I'm saying? It's like, you've got to be doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah. A lot of people that I spoke to that were never political, like most people, like, I want a nice cup of coffee. I want to feel a cool breeze. I want to provide for my family, take a vacation, eat a good meal, and I'm peaceful. I'm not causing no problem. Just let me live.
Yeah.
Was when a sitting president was banished off Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, when it's like, oh, they think they have more power than a sitting. Trump had lost the election, but he was still the president of the United States. And they just went ahead and said, we'll just kick him off.
Him. Yeah.
And that's when a lot of people were like, if they can do that to a sitting president, what? I got no shot if they decide they want to rip everything from me.
But
I got nothing.
You saw it. You saw it in other things though. Like, honestly, what happened to Gina was huge. I mean, that was huge because we all knew, we all saw what happened, and it was nothing. I'll tell you something about that. My friend Matt Peterson, who's now the editor-in-chief for The Blaze, when Gina got fired, and I didn't know her, right? At that point, when Gina got fired, I called him up. I'm like, we need to raise $2 million right now and sign Gina tomorrow. I said, let's go out, let's sign her, and we need to go and make a movie immediately. And then the next morning, Ben came out and he was like, I've signed Gina Carano. I was like, darn it.
My personal opinion, they fumbled that ball too. So.
No, they totally did, because here's the thing. Gina, it's the same thing with Jim Caviezel, right? Jim Caviezel should be the biggest star in the world. After The Passion came out, he should have been the biggest star in the world. Gina should have had 10 movies. Like boom, 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 boom. And you know what? We should have had billionaires that went, you know what? We are going to fund her to tell the left that you will not cancel us. Yes. But this is the problem. They don't understand the impact of culture on politics. They don't get it. Right? They just don't understand it. So I would have signed Gina for a 10-picture deal, and I would have made maybe, 2 movies a year with her. and made her the biggest female star on the planet.
And
That's
people
what
would
they
have
should have
people would
done.
have I always say this, and everyone knows I'm friends with Gina, but I'm just saying, when the Daily Wire released her first film, I was like, they dropped it. They should have had it on rental, because nobody wanted it. Like, there was a lot of people that couldn't afford, what was it, like $180 year membership just to watch the movie. It's
That
like
was stupid.
everybody is cheering for this woman right now. You have no idea. You would have made a ton more money if you had just thrown it out on a rental.
But it's not
Um,
even that, Jay. Jay, it's not even that. This is the thing is this, is she at that moment in time became a focal point
yes,
for canceling.
yes,
So there are enough billionaires, let me tell you, in this country that put hundreds of millions of dollars behind Senate campaigns that fail. They should have said, Gina, we are going to keep going
yeah,
until you have a movie that makes $150 million at the box office, right? Because this is what the left does with their actors. Those guys that came out the Avengers, you've seen all the venom that they've spat out about middle America and flyover
yes,
country. They'll get hired. I come out and just go to something in Austin, which is a bunch of conservatives. That's it. Boom. I lose my agent, lose my manager. That I stopped getting phone calls from the casting agents, and everyone in Hollywood goes, "Oh, wow, what happened to him?" Take the foot off. What I should have had, even for me, I should have had someone call me and go, "Matt, go out and talk every single day. We're going to bankroll you to go and do it," because that's what the left does. And the right, and I'm telling you, all these people that are watching, we don't get backed by the big money people. Right? Think about this. Oprah is worth $3 billion. They paid her $1 million to go to this,
I
to that,
know, just to stand there. Yeah,
just to stand there. Allegedly, Beyonce got $10 million.
yeah,
Allegedly, right? We don't. We're like, oh, well done, Gina. Good luck with your lawsuit. The first person to do it was who? Elon Musk. And he was like,
yeah,
I'm funding the lawsuit.
yeah,
That's what we need. And if they aren't going to do it, Jay, we have to build the
yeah,
community that will do it. So when someone comes after you, when someone comes after Gary, right, there's a whole network that goes, hey, guys, listen, I'm going to hire the best lawyers in the world, and I'm going to put you or Gary, whoever's being come after for some frivolous things, is going to happen. Like my buddy Steve Baker, he's got to plead guilty today. We've got to be behind them. And if that's
yes,
$1,000,001, it's $1,001,001. We can do it. And we don't have to wait for these, people that don't understand the significance of, like, for example, what does Lord of the Rings mean?
right,
It is bigger.
right.
It's not just a film. And I do want to say this just quickly.
No, go for it.
When I went to that Comic-Con and I met you, I was really moved. I genuinely moved, right? Because I walked in there and I saw all these people that just loved this material. Just loved the material. Like, the geeks and everything that were
Yeah,
there. I was like, these are my people. Like, they really care. And when you heard them speak about what was happening to the IP that they loved, it was so personal to them. And as an artist, you're like, that's what I want. Like, you want someone to love what you create so much that it moves them. That's the whole point of storytelling.
yeah,
And those people were absolutely crapped on, right? And I saw their world being destroyed. And it was, like going and dressing up as, like, whoever it might be, is their little part of the world that they enjoy. They might slog at a shitty job all week, and they're like, you know what? I get to go and play D&D at the weekends, or
I
I
need
get to,
escapism, man.
yeah. And,
Yeah.
and that's what it is. That's what entertainment is. And I saw these people and they were really crestfallen, and it changed something for me. It changed something, and I looked and I'm like, this is wrong. Like, you're robbing people of a simple pleasure because you hold them in contempt. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that really changed. And I saw, the fellowship, right? I saw
Yeah.
like, Gary and Ryan and Jeremy and you and I saw this group. I'm like, these guys are a little special operations group. They're out there defending these people. And it was awesome to see. Awesome to see.
That's it. Thank you. That means a lot. That means a lot. And these people that are in the chat, they are. I don't know what to say about how amazing they are, and it's an honor that they even show up to see what we have to say. Like for right now, I'm holding you to this. I got the text. Matthew made a promise to me like 2 years ago. If my first book, Blue, ever got to an animation, he was voicing a character pro bono.
Yep.
I just got to fly him out to this. Well, the day is almost here. I'm waiting to send that text. Hey, I need your schedule. I'm gonna fly you to Tennessee. We're gonna do this.
But I told you that's what you got to do. You got to look
Yeah.
after your own. That's why you were like, "Don't worry, I'll pay." I said, "I don't want any money for it, dude. I'm gonna come and do it for you for free. It doesn't matter." Like
Because
we
of
got
what you said, other people have stepped up and said the same thing because they really want to see this project. But now that my second book is out, these fans, like I'll show you. I'm gonna highlight this. They have changed their avatar to hold the green orb, which is the book. Like everyone is they just want to support good stuff. Like this, my man Risky put Trump in there, all holding this. And shout out to Punch McLightning, the guy who's making all this for all these people. And there's tons of them on social media, and they just like, we just want to see you win, Jay. We just want to see you win.
Yeah, dude,
and it's
people love you. It's because you're a good man. You're a good man. That's what it is. They recognize it. They can see. In a world where you're seeing fake people that hate you come out, when there's a light like you, and you've always been generous. This is what I'm saying. You've always been generous and courteous and a gentleman. And people love you and they see it and they're like, you know what? We want more of this, right? More Jay makes the world a better place.
I need to have you on more often. That's what I'm saying. That's what I need.
But it's
all right. Well, this isn't about me. This is about you. This is about you.
Yeah, get back to talking about
right.
me. I'm
But
an actor from Hollywood. Talk about me more.
We're getting on the 1 hour and 30 minutes, and I know your time is precious, but there is something I want to promote. And if you have any time left to speak about it, I'm going to advertise this too. You did a movie, I Am That Man, that we talked about. Now it is free to watch on YouTube, and they're using it as a fundraiser. So if you want to donate to the fundraiser and watch a good film that our good friend Matthew Marsden, was this something that, like, you did everything, right? As far as I'm like,
who's
this
fundraising on it? I'm like, who's fundraising on it? I haven't been. Yes, so
it's for Christmas dinner. It's for Food for the Hungry.
Great.
So the Christmas Box International. That's I can verify. That's okay.
Good.
That's an okay one. So
good. I'm glad. I'm glad it's not some like nefarious thing.
The comment section is filled with veterans saying thank you for this film.
Yeah, it's
filled with veterans. Like every comment I'm saying, it's like I served. Like thank you. Thank you. Like people don't understand how hard it is. Can you give us like 5 minutes on what this, like how you put this movie together, or however long you want?
Sure.
How you put this movie together? What's it about? And I'm gonna put it in the chat. So I hope if everyone has a night, check out Matthew Marsden's I Am That Man. Or if you want to support it, you can get it on Amazon. Correct?
Yeah, you can. It's available on a bunch. But so basically the genesis of this was, I want to make it clear that I'm not one of those people that thinks that they can do everything. I'm just one of those people that says, well, if nobody else is going to do it, I'm going to go do it. Right. And so the first ever script that I wrote, I sold. I was like, ooh, okay. All right. And then I wrote this movie because after doing Black Hawk Down, there was a period of time, if you think about it, after Black Hawk Down, in the Bush years, all the movies about the military were negative. right? Stop loss, rendition, redacted, green zone. It was all like about how bad America was. And I mean, literally, we had 10 years of that until Zero Dark 30 came along, and that was because it was under Obama. But I saw a lot of people, depicting veterans as they're coming back, they're drunk, they're this, they're that, and that just wasn't my experience. And I've been around, especially the Ranger Regiment, for a long time, like former Rangers, and I was like, that's not my experience. And so I'd hear them go, I live in a weird realm where, because I did Black Hawk Down, I have a lot of guys talk to me because I'm also not a veteran, right? So it's kind of a safe place to be, I think, for a lot of people. Like, oh, we know you're kind of like in the realm, but you're not. So they'd talk to me, and I just hear like, I hate the way that we're depicted. I hate the way that we're depicted, and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, you know what? I've got to do something about this. So I wrote this screenplay. And one of the things that I recognized was that communication, certainly. So it's something like 80% of special operations guys get divorced. And a lot of the time, not always, but a lot of the time, the wives would speak past them. They'd be communicating past them. So like guys would come back, for example, and they were like, I've got to get ready to go and deploy again, so I've got to be fit because I don't want to die, and I've got to come back to my family and this. And the women were like, hold on, you're back, and then you're off training all the time. Like, what kind of a wedding, what kind of a marriage is this? And then the internal struggle of the man to feel like, so if you're a Navy SEAL, if you're an Army Ranger and you come out, then what are you? Like, you walk on as an Army Ranger or a Green Beret onto a military base, and you're like a god. And then when you come out and you just find out another, like, you can, it's literally like that thing in Rambo, right? Where he's like, I can pilot $1 million helicopter or a plane, and then I come back and I'm not being trusted with the carts at the grocery store, right? Because a lot of the time it's not a transferable skill, like being able to find the exact height for an ambush is not something that you can walk into a stockbroking job and talk about. So what I did was I wrote this screenplay, and a friend of mine had been constantly being asked to finance films and blah, 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 blah. And she read this screenplay and she goes, this is one of the best scripts I've ever read. And she said, I want you to direct it because I've seen what you can do. And so I was like, okay. And so we decided we were going to make the movie. And then I was like, well, who's going to turn up every day? Who knows these guys as well as I do, that's going to portray it in a way that's realistic? And I was like, to me. So darn it, I'm directing it.
That's it.
Right. And so that was it. 2 weeks later, we started shooting. And it has been, there's a lot of secret sauce in there if you're a veteran. And I think that's why it's really resonated. Like, a lot of people might say, oh, well, it's slow to start and whatever, but there's a lot of stuff in there that's talking to the veteran community. And I've had multiple people say to me, that saved my marriage. I'd given up.
It's in the comments section.
It's all there.
Link
it's amazing.
that I put out. So
yeah, it's amazing.
It's a wonderful film, and it's free, guys. If you want to watch it for free, so it's right there. I put the link in. That's why all my merch is it's through 9line. So percentage of the profits goes to the 9line Foundation that helps get veterans back on their feet and back with their families. And it's important, it is so important not to forget about those that have fought, so that you can say terrible things on Twitter to Matthew Marsden and and others for speaking our mind. And I don't want to keep your time. There's a couple of just real quick. Let me go through these really quick, and then we'll call it. Mexican Iron Man says, looky, Jay's one of my first channels I sub to, and now Mr. Marsden, my new favorite YouTuber. What a team. Sub to Matthew today. That's right. It's in the pinned comment and in the description. Thank you. Jones says, thank you, Jay and Mr. Marsden, for an informative chat. Well, thank you for the $10. I appreciate it. And Knee Pain says, as a vet, thank you, Matthew. I didn't go to combat, but my kid brother did. We all struggle when we come home, though. What a great guest.
Thank you.
He's a great man. Matthew's been awesome, and it's been amazing getting to know him and hanging out with him in Dallas. And I hope next time I'm in town, we can all go get a burger, unless you're on some kind of crazy diet, preparing for whatever.
Crazy diet. We'll go to McDonald's.
That's it. You get on Twitter and you're like, I've been fasting for 6 months, and I'm like,
and I haven't lost a pound.
And it's
That's
like
the annoying thing.
I haven't eaten in 3 hours, and I'm like, I'm dying here. And this guy's like, oh yeah, well, I've been fasting for a week. I'm like, oh, I gotta mute him for a little while so I don't feel guilty.
You're like there with your fries. No, I mean it's as you get older, dude, you're not there yet. But as you get older, you have to do a little bit more drastic stuff. When I bulked up. Actually, for I Am That Man, I did a lot of lifting and a lot of eating. I wanted to get more of that, like more of a bigger shape, and then it just takes forever to take it off. Like I'm just like, and then I got Reacher, so I was still bigger, and now I was like, okay, now I need to slim down. So that's what I'm doing.
Well, you, sir, get the final word. Is there anything you'd like to say or promote? Yeah. And
what I'd just like. Yeah, what I'd like to say is I'm just very, very grateful for your friendship, and I'm grateful for you, like, as well, urging me to go on this YouTube journey. So I'm very, very grateful. I'm very grateful that you have been selfless in, pushing people to follow me and all that. It's I'm very, very lucky. I feel very blessed. So
are you having fun on YouTube? Because it's quite the journey.
It's great. Yeah, I love it. And I love the people. You start getting to know people, which is kind of crazy. And I've got my little community now, which is
they look forward to you talking now. My only thing is we got to work on his thumbnails, chat. Like this is some bad work.
I know.
I don't know what's going on here. The shorts are okay. Like you're good on that, but come on, brother. What's going on?
I'm not. I can't do that as well. Those were like AI. They're like, let me generate a thumbnail, and I'm like, because initially I'm like, who's gonna want to follow me? Who's gonna want to listen? And then it's kind of been going really well, and so I'm like, I got to step up my game now.
You got to step it up, man. You got to step it up. Ron Cook, last super chat. Matthew, thank you for your time being here, and thanks for all that you do. Thank you for the 5. Well, that's it, guys. Thank you for another podcast. Thank you, YouTuber Matthew Marsden. And I'm gonna play the final commercial, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care, everyone.
Thanks for listening. We hope you were inspired today. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you in the next episode. And welcome to the Rebellion.